Well, hey everyone, and welcome back to another video in the ScriptableObject skills tutorial. So, the last episode we got all of our fireball officially working, doing collision detections, and the cube here actually taking damage. We got it set right here to where the cube has 100 damage, and if we shoot a fireball at it, bam, it just takes 10 damage. You can shoot a bunch of these, and it's destroyed. So there you go. So in this episode, we're actually going to start off with using the body slam skill. So, what exactly is going to be the body slam skill? Well, we're going to go ahead inside of scripts. Let's see, skills. Just in the assets root? I do. Okay, see, that's confusing. I'm going to go into scripts. And then the fireball is going to go in there too. Go ahead, click that. Issues. Oh, it's still compiling over here. That's why. Now it works. Okay, click that and then move that into scripts. Okay, so we'll come into here. We're going to make another C# script. Once it's done compiling. A while. Right click. Go ahead and create a C# script. This C# script is actually going to be a body slam script. This, I mean, just like the fireball one was actually. Let it compile. Alright, cool. I can double click. Get our body slam going. It's not going to have a starter and update because it's actually going to inherit from the skill abstract class. Bam. And it's giving you that funky thing because remember, you got to go and implement the abstract functions. Awesome. Alright, so let's go ahead and see what we're going to have in here. Okay, so we'll have a private variable, game object, which is basically going to be the owner. So basically the person that's going to be taking the damage, not taking the damage, the one who's going to be doing the body slam. So like if you go and give this body slam to the player, this will be set to the player. If you give it to an enemy and the enemy can have this skill, then the enemy would be set to this. So what's going to happen is you're going to come into here, take initialize, out. What else are we going to need? Well, how far should we actually body slam, like in world units? So we'll go ahead and make a private float variable for range. Like how far out will you body slam? Because let's say you miss the your target, and it shouldn't keep going indefinitely. It should just go out like X amount of range in units, in world units, until it hits an object. When it hits it, it comes back. It does the recoil. If it doesn't, then it should do the recoil and come back as soon as, even if it misses. So what we'll do is we'll do the range. It'll have a force at how much we want to project the unit toward. By how much. We'll have private int, how much damage it can do. The object will need a rigid body. Okay, we'll call it RB. Rigid body. And we'll come into initialize. And we'll say the owner is going to be set to this object. We want the range, let's say to 5 world units. We want the force to be about 500 float. And you want to do about 20 damage on slam. How about that? We'll just do that. A body slam skill. Okay. And now what do we do when we want to use it? Well, so what we're going to do is we're going to pretty much do the exact same that we did for the fireball. So we can actually take that code from there. So basically what happens is if you look inside the, oh, I got rid of it. Not what I meant to do. So inside the fireball, this is going to do the exact same thing. We're going to get the mouse position. And then we're going to get the displacement vector. We don't need the rotation. We do not need the rotation. So we'll come into here, copy this code. It's up to you how you want to implement it. I'm doing it this way because I want the player to be able to go into a body slam wherever the mouse is facing in that general direction. So like what you would do is then we just come here. We can just do a vector 3 for that. So we'll get the mouse position, go ahead and set the camera correctly, get the displacement vector from the mouse position, and the clone skill prefab isn't the clone skill prefab. It's going to be this owner. So it would be the owner.transform.position because it's the owner that's being moved. Like that. Okay. Okay. And then we're going to do the same thing from the fireball skill, wherever we did right here, where we grab the rigid body component and put the force. It's going to be the exact same thing. So, and I know it's copying the same code and putting it other places, which I know these are two skills. This is just how I want the behavior to go, but you can do the body slam behavior any other way that you want. It doesn't have to be this way. So then you got the direction, you got the force mode. This owner, so right here it's going to be owner get component. Add force. This is what it does for now. So let's go ahead and get this set up. Make sure the player, because there's some other things we're going to add to it, because this is going to give some weird looking stuff. So we'll go into player. Has a fireball skill, right? So we'll go into skills. Once it's done compiling, that right click. Oh, we didn't do that. We didn't do this. Gotta make sure we add it in the asset menu. And then call it body slam. That. Wait for that to compile. Here, right click, create, skills, body slam. Ooh, and then we'll just call it body slam. Call this whatever you want. The sprite, this one's not gonna have a sprite, so you don't have to worry about it. But like I said, the whole reason we put sprite there is because let's say you want to expand on this concept and do more skills, but you want to have a skill tree. Well, your skill tree is going to be visually in the UI, and each image is going to have a sprite associated to it. Well, if you give each image a reference to the skill right here as a scriptable object, you can just set the sprite from here into the image on there, and it'll just show whatever you want. So this fireball, it doesn't have to be the same sprite that was here. This could just be used as a sprite that you want to look like on the skill tree. It could be the same, it could be different. The body slam, that's what that would be for. And then you could call it, body slam. That's cool. So the player is now going to be able to do body slam instead of the fireball. The spawn location, because if we go into here, into the player controller, the spawn location is set to here. Well, now the skill is being initialized to where the body slam is actually going to be set to the we can actually leave it to where like the spawn location is. Like you can actually leave that there if you want to leave it as skill spawn. There's one of two ways we can do it. So like the spawn location, we can leave it to either skill spawn. There's one of two ways we can do it. We can leave it as that or just set it by default to player. And then we can just do some other stuff. So in other words, we could do this. The spawn location for this skill, we know it's going to be physical, so it's the player. Okay? So we would set it to the player. And then that would be set up to that. We got this, the damage, the mouse position. It's going to just force in that position. And we need a rigid body on here. No, not 2D. Here's your body. We don't want it to move in the Z-axis. We don't want it to rotate at all. We don't want to use gravity. And the is kinematic we can leave as false. Well, no, it is, yeah, because we want to be able to use force on it. So that's what that would end up doing. So what we're going to do is we're going to come into here, and if we press E, it shouldn't do any kind of damage, because remember, it doesn't have a box letter on it. So there you go. You press E and he moves. Well, that's cool. This should have taken damage. Why didn't it? Because they don't have a box collider. No. Trigger. Body. Ah, it's because it doesn't have a... Yep, exactly. Okay, so that's going to be useful. We're going to need that. So we don't want to go... Now, if we attach a projectile script to this, it's just going to work. Well, clearly, it's not a projectile. It's actually a physical attack. So what we can do is we can come into here inside of the scripts and actually make a class or a component called physical attack. This component would be attached to the player. Why? Because the player can physical attack. The body slam technique is not a projectile. It's not shooting. The projectile is the player. So the player is the physical attack. So you would take the physical attack. You can go ahead and add the component on here. Like that. And then what we're going to do inside of the physical attack is pretty much close to the same thing. It's pretty much the same thing that we would do inside the projectile script. But there's going to be a few little extra things that we'll have to put in here. So that's why we want to make it different. We want to be able to distinguish projectile from a physical attack. Basically, it's going to have a public int damage. That'll be associated with the skill. That we're going to want to hide in the inspector. And then those. And then we're going to do a private void on trigger. Enter. Set it up for you. And then it's pretty much going to be the exact same code as we have from the projectile. You're like, well, why don't we just why don't we just use the projectile? Because the projectile dies. It destroys itself whenever it hits something. We don't want the player to do a physical attack and then kill himself. At that point, you can use projectile, but that's not what we want. We don't want that. We want to have some different behavior. We want to grab the damage component. We want to see if they can take damage or not. But we do not want him dying. We don't want him killing himself. So that's what that would end up doing. So now we go inside the body slam script. That'll be the physical component. So now when we go into here, sorry. Okay, so now when we go into here, we're gonna let it compile. Now the physical attack's there. That's cool. So now we're gonna go into body slam. Gonna compile. We're gonna go into here. It's gonna have a private reference. Okay, to the physical attack component. Why? Because this is a physical attack. The player can do this. Physical attack, and then we'll just do physical attack. Nope. Backspace. Okay. And so though inside here, what we're gonna do is we're gonna do physical attack is set to owner.getComponent physical attack. Alright, so that's going to be set there, and then we'll do physical attack dot damage is going to be set to the damage we just gave this body slam. Which you can set the body slam, you can set the body slam to serialize it. So you can set the damage inside there. You want to be able to set the force, you can set the range, you know, all that good stuff. So then now it has this. Well, now we need to do something with that. So what we do, now that the damage is set and we have the physical attack component, now we come back into here, let it compile, come over here, you press E, that thing gonna take damage. Nope, I don't have the box collider off. So we gotta make sure this box collider is on actually, for it to collide with it. Bam! Cube took 20 damage, because if I have this off, see how it's off? It's not gonna collide with it. Oh, see, gotta have the box collider on. So you got your box collider on, and that's it. So it took 20 damage, and that's great. Man, that it's so close to a projectile. Well, we're about to change that actually, because now we wanted to do the recoil. So the way the recoil is going to work is, what we need to do is we need to cache a position. So in the very beginning of body slam right here, what we need to do is we need to take a vector 3 for the starting position, where the player initially started the slam from, like where he launched himself from. And that's going to be set to owner transform dot position. Okay, so there you go, you got the owner's position set up to where that's all cool. So now what we're gonna do is down here we're gonna go ahead and create a coroutine. A coroutine it's gonna return an IEnumerator function. It's a function that returns that. I'm gonna call like recoil. Or we can do like reset. It'll just reset its position. It's going to take a vector 3 to a start position. So basically this IEnumerator is going to work over time. And it's just going to, after the player hits its target or reaches the end of range, it's going to just revert back to the start position it was when you initially pressed the key to attack. So like this IEnumerator here, it says not all cold paths return a value because we haven't written it just yet. So what we do is we're going to come into here and we'll do while vector 3 dot distance from owner dot transform position and start position is less than range yield return null. This is return, excuse me. Bam. What does this mean? Okay, so the distance. The distance, this is going to do a calculation to see what the distance is between two vectors. Okay, so the distance is going to be how the length between from the player to where he started from. So when you press the E key and you want to activate the slam, so you activate the slam, it's going to cache the start position. Well, it's going to come into here and say while the difference between the start position and the owner's position is less than range, yield return null. So that means the player is going to still continuously move. Why? Because the rigid body still has active force on it. It had forces, the forces were added to the position, so it's going to constantly move. And this while loop is saying, hey, while the position from where you started, from where you are now, is less than range, keep moving. That's what this does. It just says, hey, keep moving. It's going to loop and loop and loop and say, we have it set to 5 right now. It's going to say, oh, it's now the distance between the two is 5. Is 5 less than 5? No, it's not. So it's going to break this while loop It's going to come down here. We want to do, then we want to do rigid body. I think we did RB. Then we're going to do rigid body dot velocity set to vector3 dot 0. Basically, we're saying, hey, take your velocity and stop it. Stop moving from where you are. And then we're going to go and take the owner's position. And we're going to set it back to what the start position was. So it's just going to automatically zip back to where he was before. And now we have to call this coroutine. Now to call a coroutine, it has to be called from a mono behavior. This is not a mono behavior. This is a scriptable object. But it can be called from any kind of mono behavior. So all you got to do right here is just come into here and just do physical attack, which this could be any mono behavior. Physical attack dot reset. But what you can do is it's physical attack dot start coroutine. Start coroutine. And then pass in reset with a parameter of start position. Like this. So let's go over the code and see what it's going to do. Grab the start position. We're going to press the E button. Boom. Grab the start position. Get the mouse position. Get the direction that it's in. Apply force to the owner and make the player move towards the mouse. As the player is moving, come into here and check his distance. Is his distance less than 5? Yes. Keep moving. Keep moving. Keep moving. Is it less than 5? No, it's not. Okay, set the velocity to 0 and set his position back to where he was before. And you'll see what I mean right now. Here, I could go up here. Bam. Variable RB of body slam has now been assigned. Okay. So we need to go to here. RB, rigid body. Ah, see, I didn't even cache the rigid body. Didn't even cache it. Nope, sure didn't. Alright, so we just gotta come into here, do rigid body, set to owner dot get component. Rigid body. Like that. That's it. Now it has the rigid body. Bam. Alright, so now we can shoot it. So come all this way. Press E, bam. That's 5 units away. That's what that is. That's 5 units away. You can extend the range if you go into body slams. You can extend the range to like 7. So when you come into here and you do this, it's going to go a little further than just 5. Now it'll go to 7. Oh, that's true. It overwrote because I initialized it. So it initialized it back to... So then, yeah, you would want... Yeah, so you could just leave that alone. These are like the default values, so we don't need to actually do this. We can just do this because we want to set it from the inspector. Because when you call initialize, it's going to override those values. So we don't actually want to do that. So we can actually take these out, and since we serialized them, and then just go into here and set them here. So 520 damage, 500 force. We can set this to like 7. So the range on this will be 7. So now it'll go a little further than just the 5 units away. See? Went a little further away. You can do it this way. You can do it that way. You're going to take damage. Ah, but you notice it's actually going through the cube. We don't want it to go through the cube. We want it to see if it actually hits something. And if it actually hit, actually one more hit would kill it. Bam. So basically, we want it to also, like when it hits something, to just do the reset as well. So what we're going to do in the next episode, I'm going to do it, I'm going to set it up to where like when it actually collides with something, it's actually going to do the reset function instead of just going based on long range. So go ahead and stop it for here, and in the next one we'll go ahead and finish it on up. And thank y'all for joining for so far, and see y'all in the next one. Later.